Welcome to Wellness Rebranded, the podcast where a dietitian, a personal trainer, and a mental health therapist get together to explore health and wellness from 3 different healing perspectives. I'm Elizabeth, registered dietitian and certified intuitive eating counselor.
I'm Maria, licensed mental health therapist.
And I'm Tara, personal trainer. We believe in finding ways to nourish a healthy relationship with our mind and body, eating for well-being, not weight, finding joy in moving our bodies, and embracing and understanding our emotions. We are here to help you redesign your relationship with food, fitness, and yourself.
How great would it be if you got science-based guidance from qualified professionals instead of trying out conflicting, overhyped, and unproven trends?
If that sounds as awesome to you as it does to us, join us every week as we dig into strategies to enrich and enhance our day-to-day life and health.
And let's start rebranding your wellness journey.
Welcome back to another episode of Wellness Rebranded. This episode, we are talking all about self-care. There are 6 different realms of self-care, right, Maria? 6 or 8, I guess,
8.
depending where you look.
Yeah, good point.
And we today wanted to talk to you about physical self-care. And this is something that I'm super passionate about. Intuitive eating is a self-care eating framework, but ultimately it really truly is all about self-care and how you're taking care of yourself and your body. So where should we jump in, guys?
What is physical self-care, according to you?
According to me, it's anything you do to help take care of your body,
Yeah, your physical well-being.
your physical well-being. My number one self-care thing is get enough sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think we neglect that. We think about like exercising and,
Mhm.
nourishing, but sleep, if you don't have sleep, man, things are not going well for you.
Yeah.
I'm definitely sleep deprived today, so it's ironic you brought that up. I did not sleep well last night. Yeah, I define self-care as literally the most fundamental ways you're taking care of your body every day. Not,
Mhm.
yes, manicures, pedicures, bubble baths, massages, all of those things are certainly self-care, but I think it misses a really fundamental important point of the conversation when you just focus on those things, which is what are just the day-to-day ways
Oh,
you're
yeah.
taking care of your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all the things,
Yeah.
health every day. How are you
Yep.
eating, right?
Mhm.
What are you eating? How are you moving? How are you
Mhm.
sleeping? How are you managing your stress? Are you making doctor's appointments? Like
Yes.
just those are you
Mhm.
getting, I just got the shingles vaccine yesterday, and I very much that is a form of self-care, right? How are you speaking to yourself? There's so many ways of looking at it. And I think when we just gloss over the bubble bath part, we're missing the more fundamental ways.
And I think it's a decision. Self-care is a daily decision, even a lifestyle. Because if it's something that you do here and there, then it's not a practice.
Mhm.
And no wonder why sometimes we go on those long vacations and we come back as tired. I mean, the vacation is great and it's part of self-care, but when you do it, little bits of it during the day, even several times a day, then you make it part of how you live. And then those little things we do have such a bigger impact because it comes to be the bigger thing to do, like going to the gym. Like if you go and you lift 2 weight pounds all the time, and then you move to the 5 pounds, and then you move to the 10, and then, then it's a practice, and nourish that muscle, however we want to say it. Same with self-care.
Mhm.
What do you guys think is the biggest obstacle that people find to practice self-care? Because it's so important. But is it because we think it has to be big? Is it because we
I
think it's
love this
selfish? Like,
question.
I mean, the concept that we
Yeah.
have is, I don't know.
I think let's talk through them, right? Because those are the biggest objections people have to self-care. So awesome question. Before we start answering though, I think we should tell people that the inspiration for this episode was our brand new ultimate wellness rebranded self-care tool / planner, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And
We came up with this great resource so related to this episode. So take a look, pause for a minute or after you listen to the whole episode and look on the show notes and click to get this amazing workbook / planner
Yeah, slash
the-
ideas, right? It
Mhm.
is, we have poured a lot of energy. It is 100% free just for our listeners.
Mhm.
And we did it because we wanted to bring the mission outside of the podcast, right? And give you other tools and ways of being in our communities and taking care of yourself. And so it's full of self-care ideas that we've personally curated, all of us,
Mhm.
journal prompts. There's some,
Info.
habit trackers
tracking.
in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a discussion of self-care. So yeah, be sure to download that. It's totally free. It's our gift to you, but please take it and have fun with it.
And
Because
let us
that's,
know how you like it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
what
Let us
else
know
you
if
want to
it's
see.
helpful for you.
and because it's that important.
Yes.
Like really, as a therapist, if you ask me what is really important, I mean, there's so many things, but taking care of yourself in all those 8 dimensions that we'll name in a minute, it's important because we're also going to talk about what happens when you do not,
Mhm.
what could happen when you do not take care of yourself. And how do you know that self-care is super important? There are some signs about that too, that
Yeah.
maybe your body telling you, girl, do some self-care because we are on depleted, empty
Yeah,
mode.
just this morning I was doing a whole health strategy call with someone, which is sort of like a consultation call. And she said, it's time to pay the piper. I haven't been prioritizing myself and now I have
Yeah.
these health things. And I think the idea behind self-care is maybe you can avoid some of those running into some of those health concerns. Not all of them, right? You can practice self-care and still get sick, still get diseases, still
course,
have
yeah.
conditions,
Yeah,
but you can do a lot of benefits. So, all right, what do you think are the biggest
Obstacles.
objections or obstacles, Tara?
I think time is a big one.
Yeah.
People think self-care needs to take a lot of time, right? Like I need to go get a massage. I need to go to the gym and do these things. I know like even when I look at my own life, it's
Mhm.
like, man, I'm so busy most of the time that I can't even respond to like a text message in a timely
Mhm.
fashion without taking my attention off the people that I'm serving at the moment. So I think people are like, man, I just don't have time to do my deep breathing or go to the grocery store and get veggies or whatever the case may be. Just time,
Mhm.
Mhm.
big one.
So
Yeah.
time is one.
It's
Cost
definitely a big one. Cost,
might be a
yeah,
hard one.
sure.
People thinking that self-care requires
a lot of
Yeah.
money.
money. Yeah.
I think that it feels selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Or other people, I just was meeting with someone yesterday, but my family member gets upset if I spend too much time at the gym or, they
I hear
don't.
that a lot.
Yeah, that one
But-
makes me really sad.
I know, but I always think like self-care affects everyone. When you feel
That's what I
okay,
say,
that's gonna have an effect on the people around you.
A
So
positive effect, right?
Yeah,
Because
so
you're
if
showing
I-
up as your better self.
Yep.
hey, those 2 hours at the gym, I'm actually preventing a
Yeah.
whole week of me
A
yelling
total
at
argument.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And something else I hear a lot is particularly from women, often particularly from kind of maybe older women, more my age and older. Like, I don't even know what that means. I literally don't know what it means.
Great point.
Oh man, that's a
Yes.
deep one.
Yeah, okay. They've just spent a lifetime prioritizing everyone and everything else and
Mhm.
Putting
literally
themselves last.
yeah, and just
Mhm.
I don't even know what that means to
Mhm.
take care of myself. I've never allowed myself to do that.
Okay, so
That's so sad.
parenthesis here. Do you think, I mean, I think there's some pressures out there to that the more you do for others or the constant busyness sometimes is related or associated with effectiveness, and then if you're a better person because you're constantly busy and doing stuff for other
I
people.
definitely think that.
Or the belief that if you're a mother, you have to almost like be suffering. Like if you're suffering, then
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
are doing so. And I don't think that's based on any.
I think like
Some cultural messaging for
Yeah.
sure. That
Yes.
it's not
Yeah.
helpful.
I feel like my culture tells me that if I rest and just do nothing, that I'm being lazy and not productive.
Correct.
So it feels like, oh, I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that resting or doing nothing feels there's the guilt
Yeah.
too. So maybe that's another obstacle.
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah,
guilty.
yeah, feeling guilty,
Uh-huh.
it goes along with the selfishness part probably, right?
I very
Mhm.
much felt that last night on the way to our hip hop class, Maria, because I've been out of town for a day and a half, right?
Mhm.
And I got back on Wednesday night at midnight,
Yeah.
woke up, saw my son in the morning, and then picked him up from school yesterday, and then immediately got home, made dinner, gave him a bath, and I was like, I'm going to hip hop class, and he had like an epic meltdown.
Oh.
Like uncontrollable meltdown. And I decided like, okay, I'm not going. I need to put my family first here. I've been out of town, like clearly this isn't working. And my husband walked in and was like, just go. Like get out of here and go. Like he'll calm down once you're gone. So I was like, well, okay. But I went and a whole ride to hip hop class, I was so down, feeling like, am I doing the right thing? Like, why am I leaving my child crying? And I was just out of town and here I am going to hip hop class of all things. And like I definitely could have missed this and it would have been okay. And like then it spiraled into like, why did I even sign up for this? Like, do I have time for this even? And then I left class feeling great because endorphins.
Yeah.
And I came
showed-
home and my whole family was happy.
I was gonna say, and you showed up back home as more,
Yeah.
probably more
Present,
effective,
Yep.
more present,
Yeah.
more all the things.
Yep.
So shall we go through and reframe some of these common challenges?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that requires remembering them. All right, time. How do we want to reframe that for people?
There's many practices that require a minute
Minutes,
of
I
your
agree.
time, 60 seconds of
Yeah.
your time.
Yeah,
For example, some intentional deep breathing. You
Yeah.
can do in 60 seconds.
yeah. Walking
So-
outside and getting some sunshine for
Mhm.
1 minute
Yep.
has an impact.
Yes, I'm big with smells. Like I think in my previous life I was a dog. Like
Out of nowhere.
Okay, what kind of dog?
I don't know, like those that are really good at finding stuff with their nose or something. Anyway,
A hound. A hound.
so touch and smell are big for me.
Yeah.
So sometimes, I love to get some nice lotion with my
Uh-huh.
favorite smells because I'm very picky, can't be just any.
Yeah.
And just going to my bathroom, get my favorite lotion, putting my hands in my arms. It takes less than 60 seconds. It's intentional
Yeah.
because I'm going to do this and I enjoy the smell. Believe it or not, it's a grounding technique, brings you to the present moment. At the same time, you're doing something
Yeah.
productive for your skin. It's self-care.
Yeah.
No money, no time.
Yeah, same with getting up and getting something to eat, right? It's so common for
Mhm.
people, I'm not even eating, I'm just so busy during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Just that act of pausing and getting something to eat,
Mhm.
anything to eat, is more an act of self-care than not eating for hours and hours and hours and
Yeah.
hours on end. Getting up and going to the bathroom is
Oh,
something I actually hear
Yeah.
from people.
I
"Oh,
struggle with that.
I just try to hold it as long as I can.
Mhm.
Getting up and going without doing that is an act of self-care.
Yeah.
So is just getting up out of your chair.
And by the
Yes.
way,
Right.
the intentional part is important.
Mhm.
Because if you go to the bathroom and you go to the bathroom, okay. But if you go to the bathroom and maybe you tell yourself, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm giving myself
Because my
that-
need matters.
because my
Yeah.
need matters and I don't need to hold my basic needs. You tell that and you are already practicing something so important, sending the message to your brain and yourself, I got you. I'm doing this intentionally because I care and self-care is a necessity, not a luxury.
Yeah,
It's a necessity.
yeah.
I feel like my needs matter could be like the theme for this.
The title of the episode.
Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
Your needs matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, can we talk about the flip side of time where, yes, self-care can be really super fast, but sometimes it has to be a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah.
And it's okay to take that time to do it. And also frequently I feel like you come back better, right? Like my example with hip hop class, I got back from hip hop class last night and then I was a better person. I was more present. I was
Mhm.
more productive, even though none of that really matters.
Yeah.
It still had a genuine like net positive effect.
Yeah, and I also think it's important on that same note to talk about there are going to be times and seasons when you are super busy, right? You just have an outsized share of things going on. And then thinking about, some of the ways of self-care just becomes another thing on your to-do list. And
Yeah.
so it's okay to also allow that some weeks are gonna look a little bit different and maybe you're not gonna do as many of the self-care things, but can you have a non-negotiables list? What are your, non-negotiable forms of self-care that you're gonna do even when it's your busiest, most stressful, most hectic week? For example, maybe it is literally just making sure you eat meals. Maybe it is
Mhm.
setting yourself a time when you're gonna, go to bed that night, or, having water with you.
Some weeks my non-negotiable is just showering at least 3
Yeah,
times.
showering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That sounds so minimal, but
No, it's
for a
not.
while that was like my one thing I was doing is
Yeah,
I didn't shave my legs very often, but
yeah, and I just think it's important to acknowledge that, yeah, sometimes it's okay to be doing a little bit less
yeah.
if you're doing the most fundamental, and then you get back to it as soon as you possibly can, right? And also, sorry, Maria, but if you're in a perpetual season of I never have time for this, then what would you recommend?
Okay, two thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
One non-negotiable for me is my bedtime routine. So when my kids come during my bedtime routine, I'm like, mommy's in her bedtime routine. I'll be there in a minute. And that includes going to the bathroom, brushing my teeth, putting my anti-wrinkle lotions that not necessarily work, as you can see, but I took them out. I brush my hair, and I'm doing it intentionally. It feels good to me. It feels like cozy to go
Yeah.
to bed with
Mhm.
my routine, because then I get in bed and I
It
feel,
helps you wind down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that at that time, if I'm being interrupted, I'm like, I'll be right there. I mean, I don't interrupt my routine unless there's blood or
Yeah.
fire, right?
Mhm.
That's a non-negotiable. But the other thought is that something that I learned from Alison Loftus, business coach that we all know, is to schedule your
Yeah.
times for self-care.
Mhm.
Because if you are like me that follow a calendar kind of thing, you're never gonna find time. You're gonna
Mhm.
fill those spots with something
Mhm.
else that
Mhm.
seems productive according to our beliefs or whatever that is. But scheduling this day, I'm going to, and I write down doing nothing, which for me,
And that is a form of self-care.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
For me, doing nothing might mean that I look at my phone for a while, or that I sat down and watched Netflix show, and it can be at 3 p.m. if I didn't have an appointment that day and I put an hour there for
Mhm.
myself, I call a friend, and so it's scheduling helps
Yeah.
because then it is something that you can do, and it's important as everything else you have scheduling that calendar.
If you're trying to prioritize it, getting it on your calendar is going to help you do that.
Mhm, mhm.
There's a quote by this trainer that I love that says the best time to start a workout program is when you're way too busy to work out. And the thought is that if you do it when you're so super busy, you just learn to fit it in. You're not gonna like neglect it when you no longer have time. Does that make
Right.
sense? Like if you start when it's really easy, like when you get busy, you'll forget about it. But if you start when you're busy, you learn to like schedule around it and make it a non-negotiable.
Yeah, and also I sometimes say to my clients when they're really, really busy and it feels hard to focus on nutrition, if we can get you doing it now, then it's going to be so much easier all the other time.
Totally.
Right? If you can do it now, you can do it anytime.
Yep.
And PS, now might be maybe you're relying on a little bit more convenience foods or, pre-made stuff. And then down the road, you can do more home, there's flexibility around it. But
And if you don't, I read this somewhere, and I know it's more, more like a scary quote or something, but it hit me when I read it. If you don't make time for self-care right now, then get ready to make time for a doctor's visit or a therapist visit, which is fine. And I know maybe it's not the best quote, but it made me think like, yeah, it is preventive. Taking care of yourself is actually preventive, hopefully for something bigger.
well, and I think our healthcare system isn't great at preventive medicine,
Oh,
right?
totally.
And so
Is
I love that
reactive
you
is
sort
what
of
it is.
reframe it that way. Self-care is health promotion and, disease prevention.
Mhm.
And it is also just a human right to take care of your basic needs.
I
Absolutely.
actually have this crazy story. This guy came into the gym this morning and I just happened to be sitting at my desk. And he was like, "Hey, I'm coming in because I had a triple bypass like a month ago." And I was like, "Are you cleared to be here?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, the cardiac rehab was way 4 months out before I could get in there. So the doctor said just to come to the gym and be easy."
Yeah.
And so in chatting with him, I discovered that he had like nothing wrong, like no symptoms or whatever. And he went in for something unrelated. And then they discovered that he had like all these blockages in his heart. And all of his friend group was like, oh my gosh. And so they all went to get tested because of him. And like 3 of them also had blockages that required
Oh my
like a
gosh.
surgery, like treatment.
Wow.
So because of this thing that he found out about himself and then sharing it with his loved ones, like he could have saved lives.
Yeah, that's
You know,
amazing.
And this is a great example of how our healthcare system isn't really great about preventive because none of them were having those conversations with their doctors.
Yeah. So again, a plug for making your, I just went for my annual physical yesterday, so I guess it's
Oh,
in my mind, but
I have a dentist appointment next week.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
I have my mammogram.
Oh,
Tomorrow.
yes, I'm getting a bone density scan.
Oh, look at us guys.
All right, Maria, what else do we need to talk about for self-care before we wrap up?
Well, just very quickly, maybe some signs that you are in need of self-care. Like, for example,
You're alive.
Well, it's true.
Yes.
But what are the red flags? or
Signs
the-
that
or
you're
the-
not getting
Or the
enough.
red light that, okay, get it now, you really need
Yeah.
it. Is, for example, for me, is irritability, where I'm very irritable. I'm like in the, how do you say, like in the line between getting very depleted. So that's a sign from my
Mhm.
body, you need to attend to yourself.
Yeah.
For some people, it's isolation. When you start isolating from people, if
Yeah.
your pattern was to be social, that's something we tend to do
Yeah.
when we're feeling
Yeah.
on empty, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really goes back to how you feel, right? If you have low energy, if you're feeling sick, if you are, every meal you eat is not making you feel good, if you're feeling sluggish because you're not making time for movement, right?
Mhm.
It's really how you feel. If you don't feel good in your body, then that may be a sign that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not always, but it might be that you're not getting enough self-care.
If you feel tired
Yeah.
constantly, if you feel
Mhm.
without motivation and that was not your pattern, those might be signs that if you're become really negative in your thinking and the things that you're saying can also be a sign that it's time to pump up. Is that a word? Like pump up your self-care? Is
Yeah.
pump up a word? Okay,
Yeah,
pump up.
that works.
It can be a
Pump
word.
up,
Boost
bump up,
your-
boost.
Yeah. So again, check out our freebie that we have for you because there are several ideas, simple and quick
Yeah. 40 or
ideas,
50, actually.
yes,
Yeah,
a lot.
that you can check to and practice and try.
Yeah.
Simple, quick, but impactful for your self-care.
Yeah. And they're specific, which is what I loved about those ideas.
Thank you again for listening. Again, check on our show notes for that link that will take you to that freebie. Please go out there, take care of yourself. Our next episode is going to be about emotional self-care, and we'll let you know what the other areas of self-care are so you can start planning and taking action towards taking care of you, the most important thing in this world.
Way
Have
to
an-
sneak in a cliffhanger at the end there.
I know, I'm going to do it more and more.
Yes.
See you next time. Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara DeLeon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.